Show your love to the network by purchasing one of our t-shirts. Support the network and help push us to the next level. Head over to cwfnetwork.com/shop.
There are two guys who know a little about a lot. Come kick it with Mush King and Ali D on an all-new episode of Conversation with Friends.
Don't get left in the dark. Download the episodes of your favorite show today.
Hey friends, welcome to Guilt, a limited series podcast that you can only find right here on the CWF network, where we bring you big content in small pieces. I'm your hostess with the mostest, Ebony, and I'm really excited and glad to be right back here with you all to get into some more talk about all of the crazy stuff we do that we end up feeling guilty for and we got to work ourselves out of later on. Now, some of us are a little bit better about not going too crazy and too overboard with the shenanigans, and others need a little bit of a lifeline and a little help from us to help reel them back into reality and get things back on the right path. And that's what Guilt is all about. It's a space where we're not here to judge. We are here to be honest. We are here to keep it real. But we're here to have a little bit of fun and, most importantly, to help. As I was searching the inbox looking at this week's letter, I couldn't help but think about the idea of imposter syndrome, right? That notion that sometimes you might find yourself in spaces and in rooms that you may not feel quite ready for or 100% qualified to stand in, but you got to fake it till you make it because somehow you ended up in the room. It's like the musical Hamilton, right? You want to be in the room where it all happens, but sometimes you're not ready when you're given access. So I've seen some examples of where people begin to believe the hype, believe that fake identity that they've put on to an extent. And it's always a little bit of fun to kind of sit back and watch it unravel. I find the folks who are the best at putting on airs in that way tend to kind of fall the hardest, which is a lesson in, yeah, there's always going to be a time in our lives where we don't feel quite ready, but you can't go so far outside yourself that when you stop and look in the mirror, you don't even recognize yourself. And you can't go so far that you don't, recognize that the lie is different than the reality. So with that being said, let's get into today's letter. And then, as always, join me in the comments. Find us on Instagram at CWFP_, and drop some thoughts in the comments about what you think of this week's letter. You can also hit me up directly on Instagram while you're over there. I'm at your uncle's fave, at your uncle's FAV, or you can find me at the Culture Shop online. So here we go. Y'all ready? Buckle up, because this is a long one and it is a doozy. Old girl is wildin', and she didn't leave us her name, so let's just call her actually it's in the letter, I lied. Her name is Natalie. That's the assumed name. Here we go. You know that phrase, every saint has a past and every sinner has a future? Well, this saint's sinning past caught up with her, and I have to figure out what the hell to tell my husband. I really don't know what to say to him because he's pissed and confused, probably trying to figure out how some random man he never met before knew my name, why that man spoke to me the way he did, and why I had to defend myself. Hell, defend us. 5 years ago, I was at this new Westchester County enclave, a hamlet they call it. I was looking for a new life, far from the life I had run away from. I figured, why not? I still had my looks and my body, smooth peanut butter complexion, and a nice rack. I also had a paralegal certification. At the time, it needed to be renewed, but it would eventually land me good steady work in the law offices of Goldman & Levin, where I would eventually meet my husband, Andy. We began dating, and in my quest to clean up my act and distance myself from the past, I changed. I was determined to become worthy enough to be the wife of a moneyed and powerful attorney, and that's exactly what I did. I learned how to speak, how to decorate, how to entertain. I learned what to wear, J. Jill and Chanel. Okay. I learned the proper way to command a room at a fundraiser. These newly acquired high society skills weren't lost on Andy either. He proposed. We were married. A lavish affair with the tri-state elite as guest. 5 years of wedded bliss. 5 years of wealthy wedded bliss. Until yesterday. Andy and I were leaving brunch from one of our favorite eateries in Oyster Bay when I heard his voice again. A gravely low whisper from when his throat was cut and the doctors were just barely able to save his vocal cords. I grabbed Andy's arm a little tighter and spoke louder as I hurriedly tried to get back to our car, which was parked only a stone's throw away. There it was, my name. I heard it. Once again, cutting through the cool spring air. Natalie. We stopped walking and Andy looked perplexed. Someone's calling you, Nat, he said. It came again. Natalie. Hey, that guy is calling you, Andy said. Lord, how did this motherfucker find me? Thinking optimistically, I said to myself that maybe this confrontation wouldn't be as bad as I was imagining it could be. I stood with my back straight and eyes alert, chin up, holding onto Andy's arm as he approached. I spoke first. Hello, Anthony. It's been a long time. How's life been treating you? I said cheerfully with a tight grin. Andy, go ahead without me. I'll catch up. My husband seemed concerned, but he walked a few paces toward the car, just out of earshot, I thought. Look, Tony, I don't need you coming around fucking up my life, I started. Tony raised his hand to cut me off. I see you done upgraded to the big leagues, huh, Nat? What that simp do? Doctor? Union rep? Doesn't matter. Either way, I finally found your ass, so I want my cut. Through clenched teeth, I replied, Nigga, you ain't getting shit. I got a whole new life now, and you ain't a part of it. Tony smirked and stroked his goatee. I knew that look all too well, and knew to duck as his fist came at me. He was older, but still quick and grabbed my pashmina. He began choking me. Bitch, you'll always be just one of my hoes, Tony whispered. I was facing away from him as he choked me with my scarf, watching Andy as he rushed over. My eyes were telling him to stay away, but he was now there trying to be brave and yelling, Get off her, man. Then what I assumed was a punch, which loosened Tony's grip enough for me to slip away. I fell to the concrete. Tony laughed as he walked away and said, Your ass gonna always be down in the gutter, bitch. I could feel Andy staring at me, confused and searching for answers in my eyes. I had to let him know my secret former life that now threatened to ruin my current one. How do I do it, though? I know he's already looking at me crazy. All right, so that is our letter. I know that was a lot. We had pimps, we had hoes, we had high-profile Jewish attorneys. I mean, it was a lot. It was a lot going on in here. So let's get into it. Nat wants to know, what does she say to Andy? What does she do? How does she keep her past from ruining her future? And I got to start by saying that, for you to, Nat, to be, so supposedly street savvy and, a hustler in the way that you are and able to assume a new identity and pivot real quick, you surely were not thinking very quick on your feet when old boy rolled up on you, when Tony popped up on you. So I was a little surprised that you didn't play that off a little better. So what do you do? I think at this point you're probably giving yourself a little more credit for your super secret identity than you deserve. If it's true as you say that you had to learn how to speak, how to decorate without putting sticky inspirational words up on your wall with coordinated glass that you got from the Dollar Tree, you learned to decorate without those things, how to entertain. You learned what J. Jill was, and I don't necessarily think that J. Jill and Chanel go together in the same sentence, but whatever. The point is, you moved off Fashion Nova, you moved off of, inspo stickies on the wall as decor. But chances are, you didn't have a fairy godmother that came and transformed you overnight. There were probably some people that saw this transition happen. So I say that to say that I think it's safe to assume that Andy knows you were rough around the edges. I'm sure you can assume that Andy has made some assumptions about your background because he's been there for your transition and your growth. And you had to learn all of these things. You didn't wake up magically there. So give yourself a little bit of grace and give your husband some credit for at least having an inkling of a sense that you were not born with a silver spoon and that you have a past. I'm sure to Andy, the fact that he hasn't really met your family and doesn't know much about your past indicates to him that there's some stuff there that you don't like to talk about. So I think that you can rest assured that whatever you have to say won't be completely out of left field to Andy. So one, go into it thinking that. Two, I think the fact that you were violently assaulted by a maniac in the parking lot, like, totally is a lot, and you're probably going to need to explain why you didn't call the police, why he knew your name, why he felt comfortable putting his hands on you, seeing you in the presence of another guy. Honestly, I don't see how I don't know that I would tell Andy that this is my old pimp and he's been hunting me down because I owe him hundreds of thousands of dollars. Like, if Tony's not plugged to the point where the mafia is going to be looking for you for the rest of your life, I think you just kind of randomly bumped into his ass. I think what you do there is, I'm going to advocate for you to keep the lie going a little bit. I would maybe tell Andy that Tony was like your estranged father or abusive uncle who has stalked and beat you your whole life and he's totally insane. That's why you didn't call the police, because it's family. But it's also why you don't have anything to do with him. You know, you might want to sprinkle in a little fairy tale about how he got your mama addicted to coke and he's just a bad guy. And to let Andy, being the attorney that he is, deal with it. Get a good old restraining order. Like, chances are Tony has a fucking rap sheet as long as my arm. So, you know, it's not a stretch to come up or fabricate, if you will, some shit that'll keep Tony away from your ass. Use your resources. And again, I'm not like out here purporting and promoting that we all lie, but at this point, I don't see what else you do. But you need to just let Andy know that you had a rough life. You didn't grow up like he did. That's why you were a paralegal, you know, and not even the best one, no shade, when he met you. And I think he'll understand all of those things. And honesty will get you a long way. But your story is kind of colorful. Again, protect yourself from Tony. Say he's a psycho from your past, an old family friend, relative who abused your mom, and let Andy help you get a restraining order from this dude. I hope that is helpful. I don't know what else to tell you. Like, I've never really lived as a hoe who had a pimp hunting me down. So this is my best advice on this incident. Continue to live your life in Westchester, in the Hamlet, as you call it, but be a little more honest. Share a little bit more of your story, and that might help the next person. Okay. Well, good. I hope that some of you leave me comments. You let me know what you would do if you were in Nat's situation, or if Nat came to you asking for advice. Drop a line in the comments again on Instagram, CWFP_, and let us know what you're thinking. And before I get out of here, I want to remind you all that the next time you try to judge someone, remember, we are all guilty of something. Later, y'all.
This is the CWF network, where we bring you big content in small pieces. Follow us on Instagram at CWFP_. Okay, bye.